Good morning, everybody. Now, the Labour Party, which is the ruling party of government in the UK at the moment, which is really not very good for the country at all, of course, but they have appointed a new health minister. And the new health minister is called Ashley Dalton. And here's a picture of her. Now, when I saw her, she actually reminded me of someone else who was a health minister in the United States under the Biden regime, and this is Rachel Levine. I don't know. The similarity is uncanny. It just reminded me of her. Supposedly she's called her him, I don't know. Anyway, that was just something that crossed my mind. I'm not saying anything, that just crossed my mind. But why she's been in the news after only a couple of days of being the health minister is that, of course, when someone gets into a position, people look at what they've said before, to see what they think, what their positions are on various issues. Now, one of the things this new woman, Ashley Dalton, has said in the past is that she believes people should be allowed to self-identify as a llama. I don't know why anyone would even think of saying that in a conversation, but apparently this is something that she said on social media. It was previous to her becoming the health minister, but she's only been in the job a few days. And also that they should be people who identify as a llama, identify as an animal. I suppose animals in general should be treated with dignity and respect. Now, this is a big problem because about 10 years ago, I noticed this transgenderism started to break through the surface of the mainstream. I've never heard of it before. And to me, it just sounded completely insane that you could have a man saying that they were a woman saying that they were a man, and you have to affirm that. But as time went on, after a year or two or three, it became almost totalitarian in that if you disagreed with it, you would get cancelled. You would get fired from your job. You may even get a visit from the police, and they would try to press charges against you, accusing you of stirring up hatred against a group with a protected characteristic. So it was really a bad time. Now, things have turned around a little bit now, and people feel a bit more free to say what they want about that issue. And generally, people understand that it isn't true. You cannot change your sex. People are actually now talking in terms of there being two sexes. We're dropping even the word gender, which has been put into the language to actually create this idea that there's something different called gender to biological sex when there isn't. So people are actually starting to reclaim the language and reject this idea, even in the mainstream, which is a very good thing. I've been pushing against this for the last 10 years, even when it was difficult. But what's happening now is this idea of furries is coming to the fore. If you've never heard of them, I'm sure some of you have, but this is a furry march in Berlin, and you've got all these people who dress up in animal costumes. Now, look, if you want to dress up in animal costumes and go, and be with other people who do that, that's fine. Okay, I wouldn't do it myself. I wouldn't recommend it because it is completely mad. But if you want to do that, and you're not doing any harm to anyone else, okay, fine. But it's when you start bringing this into society as a whole and insisting that other people must affirm that you are a llama or a dog or a horse or whatever. And we do have a problem in schools because we've gone beyond transgenderism now. Just in the last year or two, there's been a spike in children identifying as animals, whether it's a cat or a dog or a wolf or a horse or whatever. And some schools are even pandering to this and putting down litter trays so that they can go to the toilet in a litter tray like an animal rather than using a normal toilet and a toilet seat like a human, and so that your waste goes into the sewage system. This is not just insane, it is it's unclean, when you have people allowing people to do this kind of thing. This is a mental illness, really, when you want to defecate in front of people using a cat litter, or you insist on eating your food out of a bowl without using your knife and fork, but just using your mouth to scoop it up like a dog or a cat. Really, that's mentally ill. It is a mental illness, called autozoophilia, where you think of yourself as an animal, and that gets you some kind of you get some kind of dopamine hit, or some kind of pleasure, some perverted pleasure out of people seeing you doing things like an animal. Okay, when dressing up in a costume, okay, that's one thing, but actually insisting that everybody change their patterns to affirm your animal behavior in an office or a school or a pub or wherever else, or a business, it's just not going to work. You can't, where this will go if it's not stopped is that they'll add an extra category into the Equality Act, and so that you will have a species identity or something, animal identity as a protected characteristic. You can see that this is where this is going if it's not checked. It's a bad sign that the Labour Party, under the Starmer regime, have appointed this person to be the health secretary, because here's someone who is, not exactly in as many words, but by saying that people who self-identify as a llama deserve respect and dignity. I mean, this is someone who seems to support all this idea of affirming trans species identity, as well as transgender identity. A couple of other things that she said in the past on social media is that she thinks that there shouldn't be gendered bathrooms, whereas for ever since public toilets were invented in the 19th century, there's been men's toilets, women's toilets, men's changing rooms, women's changing rooms, so that women can be safe, and also men like to banter in their changing rooms and can do that without worrying about the opposite sex being there and changing behavior, or forcing people to do things because they don't feel safe, particularly women. This is really an issue for women in a way that doesn't affect men, because men are not physically threatened by most women in a changing room, but women will be if a man says that they're a woman and goes into a woman's changing rooms. That's physically threatening, and sometimes there is physical violence that goes along with that. So that needs to stop. The fact that the government in the UK has now got a health minister who seems to support the end of gendered toilets and that kind of thing is very, very worrying. And, we need to get rid of this government, because it's wicked, it's evil, and it's also insane. And the sooner they're out, the better. So joking aside, the appointment of this person, and here she is again, Ashley Dalton, as the health minister, is not a good thing for the country. And we need to get them out at the next election, and may that come soon. Thank you for listening, everybody. Stay sane. God bless you all.